Hey everybody, it's me, it's Harrison. Just me today. I know we've been absent for a little bit. I got sick last week, so we didn't do our record as scheduled, and we we interrupted in the best possible way by a holiday this weekend, which kind of threw our schedule off too. It's Juneteenth yesterday, so I hope everyone had a really good Juneteenth, had some red velvet cake, and celebrated in whatever way you enjoy. And so I'm here just to give you some announcements, to read you a couple of stories, and to let you know we have not forgotten about you. We have a lot of good stuff to talk about coming up soon. We've got some episodes we've been planning that we're really excited about, but I want to give you just a few news updates. We have seen our steam locomotive, the Silverado Railway, steam out of here. That happened also yesterday during our holiday closure. She's on her way up to Willow Creek Railway at Powerland Heritage Park in Salem, Oregon. And they're going to fix her up, get her looking nice, maybe even get her running again at some point in the future. And so we want to thank the Yaquina Pacific Railroad Historical Society and the Silver family for letting us have that here on our collection floor for the last few years. We've really loved having it here. Our patrons have loved having it here. But we're also excited to see it move on to its next adventure. We have summer reading in full effect right now. So if you're one of our patrons and you have not signed up yet, please come down and do so. We have lots of incentives, t-shirts, bags. We've got treasure chests that you can root around in after you read a certain number of minutes. And we have some big ticket raffle items after you've read 500 minutes, and those stack. So every 500 minutes you spend reading this summer, you can enter our raffle and several raffles. We just had our first performer of our summer reading program, Kamana's Petite Paradise, came down with some of their animals, and we really enjoyed meeting them. And we've got more animals coming up next week, next Thursday, 10:30 a.m., Oregon Reptile Views. That's Jordan and his many scaly friends. So come on down and watch that. It's always a fun show. He focuses on safety when it comes to our more venomous critters that we'll be meeting. And I really appreciate that as someone who grew up in a forest full of venomous snakes, that he has that emphasis in his show about what to do if you encounter, say, a rattlesnake or something of that nature out in the wild, how to keep yourself and the animal safe. So we're looking forward to that big summer planned. And next Saturday, June 27th, we're going to have the first meeting of Story Trackers. That is our adult story club. Books, movies, games, audiobooks, whatever stories you consume, come down, talk about them, share, recommend, review. It's going to be a good time, and we hope to see you there. All right, so today I'm going to read you some Grimm's fairy tales, two of them. Not the Disney-fied versions, but the original ones. These come from Grimm's Kinder- und Hausmärchen, translated by Edgar Taylor and Marion Edwards. I got these off of Project Gutenberg. They're short, and, well, I'll just read them, and then we'll talk, okay? All right, here we go. From the Brothers Grimm, The Mouse, the Bird, and the Sausage. Once upon a time, a mouse, a bird, and a sausage entered into partnership and set up house together. For a long time, all went well. They lived in great comfort and prospered so far as to be able to add considerably to their stores. The bird's duty was to fly daily into the wood and bring in fuel. The mouse fetched the water, and the sausage saw to the cooking. When people are too well off, they always begin to long for something new. And so it came to pass that the bird, while out one day, met a fellow bird, to whom he boastfully expatiated on the excellence of his household arrangements. But the other bird sneered at him for being a poor simpleton who did all the hard work, while the other two stayed at home and had a good time of it. For when the mouse had made the fire and fetched in the water, she could retire into her little room and rest until it was time to set the table. The sausage had only to watch the pot to see that the food was properly cooked, and when it was near dinner time, he just threw himself into the broth or rolled in and out among the vegetables 3 or 4 times, and there they were, buttered and salted and ready to be served. Then, when the bird came home and had laid aside his burden, they sat down to table, and when they had finished their meal, they could sleep their fill till the following morning, and that was really a very delightful life. Influenced by those remarks, the bird next morning refused to bring in the wood, telling the others that he had been their servant long enough and had been a fool into the bargain, and that it was now time to make a change and to try some other way of arranging the work. Beg and pray as the mouse and the sausage might, it was of no use. The bird remained master of the situation, and the venture had to be made. They therefore drew lots, and it fell to the sausage to bring in the wood, the mouse to cook, and the bird to fetch the water. And now what happened? The sausage started in search of wood, the bird made the fire, and the mouse put on the pot, and then these two waited till the sausage returned with the fuel for the following day. But the sausage remained so long away that they became uneasy, and the bird flew out to meet him. He had not flown far, however, when he came across a dog who, having met the sausage, had regarded him as his legitimate booty and so seized and swallowed him. The bird complained to the dog of this barefaced robbery, but nothing he said was of any avail, for the dog answered that he found false credentials on the sausage, and that was the reason his life had been forfeited. He picked up the wood and flew sadly home and told the mouse all he had seen and heard. They were both very unhappy, but agreed to make the best of things and to remain with one another. So now the bird set the table, and the mouse looked after the food, and wishing to prepare it in the same way as the sausage, by rolling in and out among the vegetables to salt and butter them, she jumped into the pot. But she stopped short long before she reached the bottom, having already parted not only with her skin and hair, but also with life. Presently the bird came in and wanted to serve up the dinner, but he could nowhere see the cook. In his alarm and flurry, he threw the wood here and there about the floor, called and searched, but no cook was to be found. Then some of the wood that had been carelessly thrown down caught fire and began to blaze. The bird hastened to fetch some water, but his pail fell into the well, and he after it, and as he was unable to recover himself, he was drowned. That's the end of that story. So some of the Grimm's fairy tales are darker than that in tone, even though all 3 characters died here. It has that sort of has a sort of humorous vibe to it. I kind of like this one. I don't know what the lesson here is. I don't know if it's a really generalizable moral lesson here. I don't think this is going to get adapted into a Disney movie, or maybe DreamWorks. I could see DreamWorks doing something with this. I don't know though. It's kind of I don't know. I kind of like this one, but I'm going to move on. Next story from the collected stories of the Brothers Grimm here, once again, is Fundevogel. There was once a forester who went into the forest to hunt, and as he entered it, he heard a sound of screaming as if a little child were there. He followed the sound and at last came to a high tree, and at the top of this a little child was sitting, for the mother had fallen asleep under the tree with the child, and a bird of prey had seen it in her arms, had flown down, snatched it away, and set it on the high tree. The forester climbed up, brought the child down, and thought to himself, "You will take him home with you and bring him up with your Lena." He took it home, therefore, and the 2 children grew up together. And the one which he had found on a tree was called Fundevogel, because a bird had carried it away. Fundevogel and Lena loved each other so dearly that when they did not see each other, they were sad. Fundevogel, I believe, means foundling bird in German. So that's what that means, to make sense of it. Now the forester had an old cook who one evening took 2 pails and began to fetch water, and did not go once only, but many times out to the spring. Lena saw this and said, "Listen, old Santa, why are you fetching so much water? If you will never repeat it to anyone, I will tell you why." So Lena said no, she would never repeat it to anyone, and then the cook said, "Early tomorrow morning, when the forester is out hunting, I will heat the water, and when it is boiling in the kettle, I will throw in Fundevogel, and I will boil him in it." Again, this, it's a Grimm's fairy tale when somebody is eating a child. All right, let's keep going. Early next morning, the forester got up and went out hunting, and when he was gone, the children were still in bed. Then Lena said to Fundevogel, "If you will never leave me, I too will never leave you," Fundevogel said. "Neither now nor ever will I leave you." Then said Lena, Then will I tell you, last night old Santa carried so many buckets of water into the house that I asked her why she was doing that, and she said that if I would promise not to tell anyone, and she said that early tomorrow morning when Father was out hunting, she would set the kettle full of water, throw you into it, and boil you, but we will get up quickly, dress ourselves, and go away together. The 2 children therefore got up, dressed themselves quickly, and went away. When the water in the kettle was boiling, the cook went into the bedroom to fetch Fundevogel and throw him into it. But when she came in and went to the beds, both the children were gone. Then she was terribly alarmed, and she said to herself, "What shall I say now when the forester comes home and sees that the children are gone? They must be followed instantly to get them back again." Then the cook sent 3 servants after them, who were to run and overtake the children. The children, however, were sitting outside the forest, and when they saw from afar the 3 servants running, Lena said to Fundevogel, "Never leave me, and I will never leave you." Fundevogel said, "Neither now nor ever." Then said Lena, "Do you become a rose tree, and I the rose upon it." When the 3 servants came to the forest, nothing was there but a rose tree, and 1 rose on it, but the children were nowhere. Then they said, "There is nothing to be done here." And they went home and told the cook that they had seen nothing in the forest but a little rose bush with 1 rose on it. Then the old cook scolded and said, "You simpletons, you should have cut the rose bush in 2 and have broken off the rose and brought it home with you. Go and do it at once." They had therefore to go out and look for the second time. The children, however, saw them coming from a distance. Then Lena said, "Fundevogel, never leave me, and I will never leave you." Fundevogel said, "Neither now nor ever." Said Lena, "Then do you become a church, and I'll be the chandelier in it." So when the 3 servants came, nothing was there but a church with a chandelier in it. They said therefore to each other, "What can we do here? Let us go home." When they got home, the cook asked if they had not found them. So they said no, they had found nothing but a church, and there was a chandelier in it. And the cook scolded them and said, "You fools, why did you not pull the church to pieces and bring the chandelier home with you?" And now the old cook herself got on her legs and went with the 3 servants in pursuit of the children. The children, however, saw from afar that the 3 servants were coming, and the cook waddling after them. Then said Lena, "Fundevogel, never leave me, and I will never leave you." Then said Fundevogel, "Neither now nor ever." Said Lena, "Be a fish pond, and I will be the duck upon it." The cook, however, came up to them, and when she saw the pond, she lay down by it and was about to drink it up. But the duck swam quickly to her, seized her head in its beak, and drew her into the water, and there the old witch had to drown. Then the children went home together and were heartily delighted, and if they have not died, they are living still. All right, so we got a happy ending there. Although it does have that little asterisk in that last sentence, if they have not died. So they got the happily ever after, if they haven't died. Again, it just seems to be a theme, sign of the times, right? It was just the culture at the time that these stories were collected. People were a little more comfortable with the dark stuff. So yeah, a happy ending. Yay. Yes. Kept going. Standing ovation. This is a weird one. This is one of my favorite, just weird, Grimm's stories. It has, I guess you'd say, third act problems. I feel like, not to criticize the folk tales of my ancestors, but yeah, there's a lot of shape shifting, and I don't know. They're turning into stuff, and I don't understand. I need to talk to a folklorist so I understand the context for this a little better. It kind of loses me when it gets to that point where the kids they run away and they're like, oh, let's just turn into a church and a rose bush and a pond and a duck, and then the duck drowns the witch. I guess that's fun. Maybe that's supposed to be funny. It is kind of funny, like when I picture it. So maybe that's what that is. Maybe not. I also think it's interesting that the cook, the witch cannibal character, she's going to eat Fundevogel, but then when the kids run away, she's like, what am I going to do if the kids aren't here? Like, well, what were you going to do if you ate one? Like, if the dad came home and you were eating a kid, you thought that would be a problem? I don't know. It doesn't. I don't know. I'm not giving this one high marks for story structure, but I love it. It's weird. It's just so weird. It's there are many stories that are this just odd from our perspective. I'll say from a modern perspective, way over here, so far in time and space from the culture in which these were told. And yes, they are fairy tales and there's magic and stuff in them, but that's me kind of processing this stuff as I read it. But I do encourage you to look up these stories. We've got some we can get to you. We're a public library. We'll get you a nice we'll find you one. We'll find you a leather-bound Brothers Grimm stories here. And you can learn more about where these stories came from, when they came from, and maybe read them to your kids if they can handle it, right? All right. So we'll talk to you next time, and hope you have a wonderful week. Bye. The Free Bin is a production of the Toledo Public Library, which is part of the Lincoln County Library District in beautiful Lincoln County, Oregon. Writing by Harrison Baker and Cindy Bilek. Original music and editing by Harrison Baker. The views and opinions expressed on this program are those of the speakers and do not necessarily reflect those of any organization they represent. Good night.